Howdy, all of you delicious people. I'm here today to review Looker. So, from the little bits and pieces that I heard about this film, I was like, okay, this is kind of interesting. Like, this is something that I haven't really gone into about within the channel as far as like kind of real plastic surgery kind of stuff, because I haven't gone on and talked anything about like Nip Tuck that I used to watch, or any kind of plastic surgery reality shows that I, of course, used to watch also. But then eventually I find that it's much more just about plastic surgery and eventually the reaching perfectional look that eventually will cause these people to get killed off in this film. Wish, which also is to have me have a disclaimer about this movie as far as a review aspect of it. I wish no ill will towards anybody of any look scale of any kind. Like, really, to me, when it all comes down to it, regardless of where you are to be at looks wise, we are all to be the same in the aspect of we are to all have body dysmorphia in some way or another. We all would rather just go on and completely shave our heads because we've noticed a bald spot here or there, or we've gone on to want to just wear a bandana or a mask upon our faces because we have acne problems, or also to want to really just lose a lot of weight because someone is to call you fat at some point in your life. Yeah. Uh, so we're all the same in that fashion. And really, so yeah, but this movie becomes much more so than looks, and let me just kind of get there. So we would come to find Dr. Roberts, who is to just kind of be this middlemanish kind of character who is to really see his plastic surgery patients as more than just a paycheck. He's like, no, like, these people are getting killed. Like, I am to really befriend these people and really have a real like rapport with them, and like I'm wanting to put like their best interest at heart, and really want to go on and get to the bottom of what's really going on with why these women are turning up dead. And we would come to find that eventually all of this turns around and is to have that perfection just isn't perfect enough. Because, yeah, you can go on and have a perfectly good looking person, but then that person has to go on and to deliver a line, or has to go on and have this jumping like skill, or be able to perform this feat of strength or something or other that this perfect person just does not possess. And that forces this kind of film media company to want to go on and just kind of scan uh, this person's entire body and want to go on and put them in these commercials, but turn around and eventually have these commercials uh, be a lot of trickery, go into almost like absurd like levels of perfection, but then not only that, to just really just brainwash and mind warp people into just doing what they want. And eventually later down the road in this film, like, that's what becomes really very interesting about the film, where it kind of becomes about like commercialism and whichever. And that's where I was just kind of like, oh man, like, this was to have like way more than I thought it could be about this film. And I was just like, man, freaking epic. 2 thumbs up. Why aren't we remaking movies like this or rebooting stuff like this instead of just going on and putting the normal like things that we've seen over and over a billion times over again. For how many freaking times now? Eventually people are going to go on and just realize that superhero movies just aren't enough. That you have to go on and really give something drastically different within a film to keep people coming or keep people happy. Instead of forcing them to just be like, dude, I'm just going to wait it out on some streaming service somewhere. Also, speaking, Looker. I don't know where you're going to go on and probably easily be able to find said movie, but I will go on and give you an app so you can dare in fact go on and do so. And this is an app called Zelifonic, Zelivonic. You can go into watching a movie like Looker on Zelifonic for absolutely free. There's no fees of any kind. If anything, I am to also have no money coming in from saying the words of this app or the almost ad of which that I'm doing now about it. So legit, go on and just check out this movie because I want you to see it. And I hope that you will eventually enjoy it if you are to go on and choose so. Because this movie was so good. I really enjoyed it. So, with that said, we are to also have in this movie some kind of flashing moments in this film. So if you were to possibly have any kind of like epilepsy or any kind of, I don't know if this movie is going to exactly be for you, but like there is these moments where we have this kind of flashing thing over the screen and we're just like, okay, what the heck is that? But then in the later part of the movie, they explain the reason for why that is. We come to find that there is to be this gun that is to go on and is to put people at a pause or at a trance. And that is the reason why we are to start to see the time slipping like thing and come to find out that this mustachious man is to be this invisible killer, to where we are to go on and in the kind of early parts of the movie just be like, oh, okay, I guess that was what this was. And you'd be like, oh, okay, all right, okay, like I'll put the pieces together later on in the movie. Now that I can possibly much more understand what was going on in the earlier parts. Okay, all right, okay, you got me, movie. So, with that said, I think it's about that time to just go into full-on spoilers about this film and possibly double 5 this time out here. I can't count. What's going on? It's really just about that time again. Because it's spoiler time. It's about that time again to spoil this movie. I'm going to pause this review and get out the cast list. Full honesty, because that's how I always want to approach every single review. I am to be having a cast list, but then also I have a little bit of cliff notes for this one because I want to be sure that I can kind of just get the full out spoiler thing out of the way, but then also turn around and just kind of have like some little like interjections of just like, oh well, yeah, like this spot, awesome. Because really, that's probably all it's going to be. It's like, oh man, cool, yeah. But anyways, let's get to that point. Let me pause here, and I will be back with the cast list and the full-on spoiler, succulent edition. Anyways. Alright. Spoilers. So in the very beginning of this movie, we have this ravish commercial of perfume. And immediately the first thing that came to mind to me was like, man, this just reminds me of that whole like Obsession kind of perfume commercial that had that weird whispering thing going on there. Like, uh, eventually, Family Guy at some point made fun of it because, yeah, uh, like it was so good. Like, and I would go on and randomly at certain points just remember like Obsession, and I would randomly just say like transgressions, aggression, obsession. But so we would have this ravishing commercial coming in and this model going on and having this spokesman say it's like, oh no, like don't just put it on your leg, put it on your toes. And the woman's like, say what now? Like, you're just going on and forcing me to just slather this all over my body so I have to go on and go to a store and pay more for it because that's obviously what you're trying to do. In my brain, that's what the woman would have said, but that's not legitimately what she said. But she's like, okay, yeah, sure, I'll go on and I'll just slather this all over my body because I'm sure that this perfume is probably toxic, and the more that I slather it all over my body, the more I'll realize what a mistake that was. But so we would come to find that this woman upon this commercial is to really just be this person going into this plastic surgeon, Dr. Roberts, and going on and saying the measurements of her bate are not quite good enough. Her nose is 2 centimeters to the left. When she farts, it goes against the wind. And so on and so forth. She absurdly needs her body to be adjusted slightly. And we would go on to have our plastic surgeon who is to, of course, look at all of these paper measurements and just being like, And so if you were to go on and legitimately see videos of actual legitimate plastic surgeons, they would go on and state that it's like, well, yeah, I normally go on and refuse like quite a bit of people that do come in and want something done because it's just not right. Because a lot of people are to go on and have body dysmorphia and I would just try to go on and have them seek uh, a therapist or just help of certain kind before really just coming to me and wanting to cut them up. And I'm like, well, like that's a very noble thing. But so, because I had gone on to see like Will Tennyson, who is to have spoken to a plastic surgeon, and that's what he is to have gone on and stated at one point in one of his videos. But so we would have Dr. Roberts, who's just like, you know what, I think I want to go on and maybe pass you on to my other surgeon, Dr. Wilford. Or Willfield? Wheel. Dual reel wheel. If you've ever gone on and seen the Elijah Wood movie Cooties, you'll know exactly what that is to mean. But if you haven't gone on and seen Cooties, which is kind of a weird film anyways, then you'll get that goofy reference that I'm to make here. So Dr. Roberts goes on and speaks with Wellfield, and Roberts is just like yeah, this girl, like she really just wants these adjustments, and Wellfield is like, well, like, are you gonna go on and are you gonna do it, or otherwise someone else will? And so Roberts is like, yeah, I think I will, like, but like I don't know. And so Wellfield is like, well, hey, like, give me your number, like I'll go on and I'll date her. That woman is slamming, or whatever goofy phrase that they probably have for whenever this movie came out. But so Roberts does go on and like he like has very like kind of kind of subconscious kind of like maybe I shouldn't do this, but like, you know what, like she'll go and she'll get it done at somewhere else, so like I might as well be the person that is to be like the right guy for the job instead of just being just a guy for the job. So Roberts goes on and does the surgery. And so we transition to have Lisa, who is to go home and is to be with her dog Teddy, and is to supposedly be waiting for her date, and who I believe is Bob. So Lisa goes on and is to just kind of be prepping herself. She is to seemingly at first be putting on this robe, but then she's like, no, man, like, people need to see all of this. So I'm going to just toss this robe off. So Lisa goes on and hears a at the door, and so she's like, oh yeah, I should probably open up this door and see if anybody's there, if any gentleman caller is to be upon me. And we would come to find that Lisa's to open this door and no one's there. But we see this kind of weird white flash over the screen, and we'll again come to find out that there was a whole reason for that within place of this film. Anybody who's to suffer from epilepsy, maybe this movie is not to be for you. But like the flashing isn't consistently, and I've also gone on and seen a number of other kind of random things that eventually have much more of a white flashing thing kind of going on, and so I can probably understand why there are to be concerns about that. But so Lisa goes on to eventually go within her place and just kind of start to feel more at unease. She's kind of clutching her dog close to her, realizing that all of a sudden at the foot of her bed there is to be some briefcase there that is to have this unusually shaped weaponish like print upon it, and she's to kind of be touching it bizarrely. If I were to go on and see a briefcase with a gun looking thing there, I would just be calling the 5-0, just like, hey man, like something's going on. But maybe this girl is to be under this kind of unusual trance that we are to eventually understand in the later half of this movie, and so maybe she's just very out of it, is where I want to come to a real understanding of eventually this girl's death, which of course then happens. So this girl eventually starts going throughout her place, and then is to all of a sudden start to get within her curtains, and then she ends up getting wrapped up within her curtains, and then tossed off of the side of her balcony to her death. Sadly enough. R.I.P. Lisa. R.I.P. So we, of course, go on and have Dr. Roberts, who is to eventually be, of course, tied to Lisa because patient. And so we would come to find that Dr. Roberts is making his way to his office to be confronted by Lieutenant Masters, who is to be this police officer. And so Roberts is to be a possible suspect to this murder because Lieutenant Masters is to come in and talk to Dr. Roberts about 2 of his former patients being killed. And so we come to find that both Susan and Lisa had gone on to eventually be killed here, and we have the doctor who's like, well, like normally there is some cases with plastic surgery patients eventually getting depression, and maybe, yeah, like maybe they had gone on and kind of self-harmed themselves. But so really, like, Roberts is to just be like, but like I don't feel like they were really like depressed, so like maybe there is something else going on here. And so we go on to have Lieutenant Masters is like, well, like, is there a possibility that I can see the records or the charts of these people? And Dr. Roberts is completely fine with that. It's like, well, yeah, sure. Like, I can definitely get my secretary to get those for you. And so Roberts goes on and calls his secretary to eventually come to find that bizarrely, like, the one records that, of course, he is to go on and need are missing. And so Roberts is like, well, that is kind of unusual to have things kind of missing here. But then eventually, the further and further that Masters is to start to talk to Roberts, eventually noticing that there is to be some pen that Roberts is to have lost, and then realizing that there is to have been a button missing also from Roberts's blazer, is to just go, yeah, like at the crime scene, there was to be this one button that was to be placed upon this bed, and now we are to go on and kind of connect the dots of that. Just be like, like maybe this guy might have some ties to this murder after all. So Lieutenant Masters is to go on and leave, and Roberts is to eventually go on and speak to a woman named Cindy. Cindy is to, of course, possibly have some interest in maybe getting a possible adjustment with maybe her jawline or maybe something to do with her ears, it seems, because we have Roberts who is to be coming in and start to talk to Cindy while she's chewing gum, chewing away. And so while he's kind of like just kind of assessing her, she's just like, yeah, this is going to be a problem for you, right? I'm going to blow a bubble right as you're just kind of up and downing my face. So we have Cindy going on and like talking about how she eventually is just kind of looking for excitement, and I think she's going to get a heavy dose of that further and further towards this film. And eventually Roberts is going on and talking about him eventually going on and needing to go to a fundraiser, which eventually will lead Roberts to a photo shoot where he is to ask Cindy, it's like, well, hey, like, would you mind going on a date with me to this fundraiser? Because the one person that I was to go with is actually sick. So, like, hey, if you want, like, there is to actually be some kind of influencers there, and there's to be some kind of connections that you can kind of network with. And, like, this really also just comes down to, like, really just sounding like a thing that you just can't say no to. But we'll get there when I'm to talk about that scene also. So we would have Roberts that goes on and speaks to his secretary, and she's to go on and, of course, talk about the four missing files, and that also there is to be another patient who is to, of course, be Tina, that is to be present here and now, that is to want to go on and talk to Roberts. And Roberts is like, okay, like, I don't have anything like on the schedule that is to need me to talk to her, but hey, like, I'll just kind of see whatever she needs. So Robert goes on and speaks with Tina, and Tina is freaked. She's scared. She's paranoid. And so Tina goes on to talk to Dr. Roberts and is pleading for him to undo what he had done, make her less perfect. And Roberts is just like, what are you talking about? Like with all the pain and the anguish that you had to go through and all the swelling and everything of that nature, to just like go through all those hurdles just so that way you would want it all reversed? Why, Tina? Why? And so we come to find Tina, who's just like, well, like, they're after me, like the people who want to just kill all the perfect ones. And like, really, like, there are so few deaths to where it's like, okay, like, there's no way to like perfectly connect all of that to just say that like that's really what's going on in this film. But we're having Tina, who's just so terrified that she, instead of going to the police with this, she's going to Dr. Roberts and is to ask him about the Mustache Man. Which, funny enough, this dude never actually gets a real legit name in this entire movie. He's still Mustache Man. Okay, sweet. So I can just consistently make fun of that throughout this entire review and just call him Mustache or Mustache Man. Mustache Man. Anyways. Hey, mustache. Anyways, so we would have Tina, who goes on and is to just leave this appointment or this consultation possibly, and we would have Roberts, who is just so kind of like, what is going on with all of this, to where he's just like, well, you know what, like, I'm kind of afraid for Tina. Like, I want to make sure that she's okay. Like, I I really want to go on and go the extra mile and just kind of stay with her and just kind of make sure that she's just like not going on and hurting herself or others, because she is at a state of just paranoia of sorts or mental instability. So we have Dr. Roberts, who goes to Tina's hotel. And so Tina's to go on and is to be at her place, and like she's changing in her clothes of the night. And so all of a sudden Dr. Roberts is to make his way to the hotel. He's to kind of ring a doorbell or kind of say or show his face to the clerk who is to be running the hotel, to try to get into this hotel to possibly talk to Tina. And all of a sudden we are to see this flying body be coming out of some room, and that is to be, sadly enough, Tina, who comes flying out of this hotel and smashes into this car like a freaking pretzel with her body. It looked freaking devastating. I was like, wow, like how, like, her legs were just like smacking, like, I was like, wow, like, that is impressive. And hopefully it was probably just some double or whatever. Legitimate, yeah, that would have to be how it is. That would have to be how it played out. But still, like, I was just so impressed by that, like, effect of just her legs just like being right by her head. I was like, holy But so she goes smacking into the car, windows break, she falls off the roof of the car to then the parking lot of the hotel. And so Roberts goes to check on the pulse of Tina. It's like, oh, she's gone. Like, there's nothing I can do. So we'd have Lieutenant Masters turning around and going on and just being like, oh, well, like, you being here is just awfully convenient. If I hadn't even gone on before and had maybe some possible suspicions about you, like, you're getting some kind of weird connection going on with this case and you're just rubbing me the wrong way. And so the doctor is just to be like, well, no, like I was to be like down at the very bottom of this hotel by the time this girl had gone flying out of her room, and so like there's nothing you could really pin me on. But so we would come to find Dr. Roberts noticing this paperwork that is to have all of these measurements, which is to be connected to this digital masters incorporation thing. And he used to go on and state it's like digital masters corporation thing. It's like, okay, like what does this all mean? What does it entail? So we have Roberts going on speaking to Cindy about the whole fundraiser thing at the photo shoot, just saying like, yeah, like I had a person opt out, so hey, you want to come with me to this date? Fantastic. If not, then oh well. But hey, you're gonna miss out on some sweet connections, some networking. And Cindy's like, yeah, I gotta go with you. I gotta see how this is all gonna turn out. So we have both Cindy and Dr. Roberts making their way to this Reston Mansion place, whatever this place really actually is. And so we would have Dr. Roberts and Cindy meeting with Reston and Jennifer Long. And so we come to find that Dr. Roberts is asking Reston for a $7 million burn unit. And Reston is like, wow, like, sure you don't want to ask for $8 billion? And this and that. And so Roberts is like, well, yeah, but that's definitely enough money to where like I can go on and have like the best equipment and like the best care for for people, and that's why I'm asking for that much money. So Reston is like, well, yeah, I understand that, but hey, let's go on and let's just kind of share dinner together. Let's break some bread and we'll kind of see how this all plays out. But so eventually, the further and more that they go on and they talk within this dinner, Reston and Jennifer Long are to hear upon the news like, well, hey, like, or somewhere like through the grapevine, maybe this is a small town, possibly, even though it's a pretty big city, it seems. But the word is kind of getting around that Roberts's patients are starting to become dead. So really, like Reston and Jennifer Long are starting to like realize it's like, well, hey, maybe there is some connection with these people turning up dead and Dr. Roberts. What say you about it? And Roberts is like, oh no, like that is all just some coincidence. And like I have no real connection to their deaths. And Reston is like, oh yeah, well I hope not. And so Roberts is just like, well, yeah, well, like funny enough, like you do own this digital matrix thing, and really, I think that's where I'm starting to also see a connection with all of my patients. So, like, what is that all about? What all can you tell me about that? Because really, I'm if you're getting some suspicion or some sus thoughts about me, I'm getting some sus thoughts about you. So they go on and they try to explain. It's like, well, yeah, like our company is to be dealing with new technologies and the scientific abilities and this and that, all of this weird technical goobly gop jargon, and trying to explain away in very vague terms what actually they do there. And so, really, just stating that Roberts won't really find out. it seems. But so after this whole fundraiser, we have Roberts who's still kind of sticking fairly close to Cindy, having her kind of spend the night in another room that he is to go on and have, and they're to kind of get fairly close with one another, almost lip locking points of entry, which do not happen. But so Robert goes on and even further is to go to a volleyball shoot that Cindy is to have with this commercial. And that helps Roberts much more so understand like what Cindy is to really possibly be involved in with the company that both Reston and Jennifer Long are to possess. Where we come to find in this volleyball shoot that we start to see that this girl is to have to jump but then land perfectly at this one spot. And they're like, nope, do it again, take number 407 to get this girl to consistently just keep trying to get this right, and she fails miserably. So the director is finally just like, well, like, we just can't get it. Let's just CGI and just scan her in and just finish the shot that way. And so Cindy's like, really? I need to go in and get like scanned in, and like you can use my likeness and whatever? Like, I don't know if I like any of that. But so Cindy agrees to this regardless. And so, because this fall has to have gone on and matched this computer to exact measurements where it's like 99.5% almost accurate, whatever. So while Roberts is to drive Cindy to this place where she is to go on and get scanned, it seems like Lieutenant Masters is following Dr. Roberts, just like, yeah, there's something about this guy. It seems like he's having a real connection with this case, so I just want to see like where this all leads. And so while both Cindy and Roberts are going into this facility, Jennifer Long comes in and is like, well, oh, hey, Dr. Roberts, well, since Cindy's going on and just kind of getting her body scanned here, like, how would I go on and give you a tour of the place? And Dr. Roberts is like, okay, great. So I can get some dirt on you people, I hope. So Roberts goes through this tour and is to be positioned into this pupil stimulus. And I'm like, oh my God, like, I had seen this on a plethora of different YouTube videos where we would come to find like Markiplier or Jacksepticeye going on and having this one device that can tell you where their eye line is. And eventually at some points they would be kind of forced to be trying to watch a video that is to be of a certain arousing nature to eventually force their eye line to go in a certain direction, so to speak, and have, I guess, the viewer be realizing it's like, oh man, their mind is completely in the gutter because they're looking right into the gooch, or they're looking right into the this or that or whatever, what have you. Blah, blah, blah. So we would come to find that Roberts is going on and looking much more at the body of the woman rather than actually working his eyes much more so to the product that they're going on and trying to sell. And so Jennifer Long is like, well, yeah, like that's the real problem of this commercial, because we can only go on and have this 99.5 looking girl try her best to sell this product that she is to try to look so closely next to and just be, yeah, look at this product while also looking at me kind of thing. That is the problem that they are heading towards. So, and this is to, of course, have been a hairspray commercial. So she's 99.4, whatever goofy stats. So meanwhile, we have this doctor, or just this white trench coated looking guy, who is to send Cindy on her way to this weird, goofy scanning machine that I have gone on and seen professional wrestlers go and get their body scanned so that way they can do action figures. And really, between that scanning and this scanning thing, looks nothing alike. It looks so goofy and weird. And Cindy is just standing there in the buff. And she's eventually yelling, help, help, help me. And I kind of really just thought that that was funny. She also yelled out something else, but I'm not going to say that word because I don't like saying that word anyways. But Cindy is to go on and just be in the scanner for way too long, and I'm just kind of like notching down the minutes here, just going like, okay, like this is an hour and 30-minute movie. Sure, take a couple of minutes to scan this woman in the buff, because if we haven't gone on and seen enough flesh of the woman's, like there's nothing wrong with that. But anyways, so the flesh of the woman's women who do not have clothes on. Yeah, that's what I meant. So, anyways, so Roberts is to come to find with Jennifer Long that there are to be these animators, and there is to also be this voice synthesizer, and he is to go on and realize like, okay, like they can make like this scanned woman just kind of come into this commercial. Wow. But then they can also use this voice synthesizer to make her sound like Cindy too, and make her say whatever. And Roberts is going on and just be like, wow, like okay, like really pulling off some cutting edge technology here for that time. But so Roberts goes on and leaves this facility, but he's just like, you know what, like there is something that I'm not quite sure is completely shady about this place, but like I only got to see like the bathroom of this facility, but I really want to go on and see like the back alleys, the real like basement, or the real like I want to see what they're throwing away, so to speak. So Reston and Jennifer Long are both talking, and Long had noticed that Roberts had gone on and taken one of their security cards. And really, because Reston is to probably realize that Roberts is just, like, he's just a plastic surgeon. What is he gonna do? He's not gonna just come in here, just guns a-blazing, and eventually just, like, wreck house like he does in the third act. He's not gonna come in here and just, like, take this whole company down, just hand over fist. So Roberts and Cindy are to be together at his place, and Cindy is just to kind of talk about what she's to want to go on and be doing, and Roberts is like, "Well, yeah, I want to go with you with whatever you're gonna do." And Cindy's like, "Roberts, like you're kind of doing a little bit of a smothering. You're kind of being a little bit too close." And like you might have some fascinations with me, but like I need some space. I need some time. And so Roberts is to really just be like, well, yeah, but you're like one of four girls that have gone on and went into this perfect plastic surgery, and so two of them have gone on and been dead so far, and so like you may be next, like, or you may be last, because Tina, we almost forgot about her. I'm sorry. But so Cindy is just be like, well, really? Like that's why like you couldn't have told me any of this? Like you could like, man, I'm gonna go on and like because I can't trust you, like I'm gonna go and I'm gonna just be with my parents. Like I'm gonna go and I'm gonna leave your ass. So Cindy goes on, makes her way to her parents, and her parents are just kind of just glued to the TV, and they're just like, "Oh, hey, yeah, Cindy, or whatever. We don't give a like. We're gonna just cash this check of this film and just walk away." So Mustache Man is just kind of Mario sneaking his way into Robert's humble abode with his weird, goofy, futuristic gun. And so Roberts is to all of a sudden be kind of going through his place after getting these kind of white flashes. He's to turn his sink on, but then all of a sudden his sink is to overflow. And he's like, what the heck is going on here? Like, I just had the sink on like a minute ago. All of a sudden it's like all over the floor. What's going on here? So Roberts comes to this realization after facing toe to toe with Mustache Man that eventually he should head his way into Looker Lab. And so Roberts goes on and is to take Cindy with him to make his way into this facility again, so that way he can go on and speak to this security guard who's obviously watching baseball and not really giving a rip about this facility, because he's not really manning any of the other cameras, I guess, to just kind of check what all is going on. Like he's not going on and he's not circling the place and kind of making sure everything's all right. Let's move on. But so I went way into that whole thing and I didn't have to. And so Roberts and Cindy are to just make their way through their lab, regardless of this security guard. But like, hey, you guys don't really look familiar, or like it doesn't seem like you have a name that is to really be on here, or what. There is no real due diligence of these people being like put into this lab, other than, oh, you have this card, oh good, great, like go on in. Yeah. So we have Mustache Man who's making his way into the scene and is to be checking the security index, and it's just like, like I'm gonna have to go on and kill some folks because I'm like the cliche-ish Bond villain, like Lockjaw or something, and I just gotta come in and just take down some folks. So Cindy and Roberts are just having a fun time, just adventuring the facility of sorts, and like they're just going in the vending machine and just like, yeah, B7, all right. Like Let me get them Funyuns. They're going on and just checking out this, I think, this one kind of this film room, and they all of a sudden notice this one robot that is to be this like maintenance robot, and the robot goes on and adjusts the thermostat and picks up this one trash, and Roberts is like, oh my god, it's an electronic maintenance equipment thing. Wow. What a futuristic movie we are to live in. And he notices that this thing is going on and following this this certain track that is to be fairly lit up that uh, that Roberts had gone on to speak to Long about. And so once Robert is to notice that uh, the maintenance equipment thing is to make its way into the one room that Roberts needs to go in, which of course is to be this looker lab. He is to get into this lab to be able to realize what's really going on here. That all of a sudden there's to be this commercial kind of playing into this room, which is to be this kind of warrior cleaner commercial. And Cindy is to watch it and just be like, oh wow, yeah, like these are kind of some unusual folks. And Roberts is just like, oh yeah, like those people are just CGI'd characters, and so they're not really real. So Cindy starts watching the commercial, and all of a sudden there's to be this blue flashing over the character's eyes inside the commercial, and then she is to go into this hypnotic trance, and Robert is to kind of just wake her out of it, just like, hey, like don't look at the commercial, because your mind is gonna get brainwashed or warped or whatever. And so Roberts notices, like, okay, like, hey, let's get Cindy here. But then all of a sudden, Mustache Man comes into play, and I'm like, oh no, not Mustache Man again. It's a Mia, Mustachio. So Roberts now has to go on and combat this vicious threat of Mustache, and so he is vampiring. He's covering himself. He's vampiring away, just like, oh no, like you can't go on and you can't get me with this gun, because it obviously comes down to like just you hitting me in the eyes with this gun for me to have a time lapse so you can go on and not only either hurt me or hurt Cindy. So we have this battle going on of basically the Invisible Man versus Roberts, where he's getting punched and he's getting thrown through this glass. He's getting hurt, all kinds of viciousness. And so Roberts then goes on and is to be wielding these glasses, which he doesn't wear through the rest of the goddamn film, which is the worst part about this. That could have been your strat the whole time, dude. Just put on some shades and you'd be cool. But no. I gotta not wear sunglasses through the rest of this movie, even though it would have been a hindrance. Anyways, so Roberts puts on the shades, and then so he can now go on and face off against Mustache Man and get out of here, because they're kind of more between Roberts and Mustache. They're at an even playing field now. So but yeah, so these weapons, if I haven't explained already, are to be these light flash guns that are to stop time, and they're to have this kind of hypnotic trance light pulse thing going on with them. And so we also had Roberts, who's to give Mustache Man a good nut shot. And then they go through this illegal exit. Horns start to be blaring. Everything starts to go cray-cray. the shitteth had hitteth the fan. That's what's really going on here. So, illegal exit, they're getting out of here. And so, Reston is going on at the studio filming this commercial, and he's all just upset with this guy. Because it's like, well, hey, like, did you want blue flowers or black flowers? Reston is like, blue flowers! Whatever! Whatever he's arguing or yelling about, whatever. And then eventually Reston is here from his sources that like things are going horribly awry, and it all has to do with Robert. So he's even more upset. So Roberts takes Cindy to his plastic surgery. I want to say hospital, but I don't think that's the right term. But I'll say hospital just because it's probably easier to say that than anything else. Clinic sounds better. Let's go with that. So clinic. So Robert takes Cindy to this clinic, puts her in this bed, and is to eventually just kind of walk around the clinic to make sure that there's to be no mustache wielding men that are to be approaching upon Cindy, and he wants to continue to make sure Cindy is safe. So we also have to realize that Robert now has one of their guns still. And so while Roberts is kind of going around, he now has this this pulse light weapon to kind of be at equal footing with these other men. But weirdly, we have these guys that are to also be firing off these laser / normal bullets within these guns. Like, we have the weirdest, goofiest soundtrack of sound things going on at this moment, where I'm not quite sure if it's lasers, because it sounds like pew pew, but then also is like pa-pew, pew pew pew, pa-pew. Like, what the heck is going on? What kind of sound is that? Like, also, speaking of sound, this movie has a legitimate, it seems, theme song that was frickin' banger. That Looker song from Sue Sad, frickin' awesome. I went on, and even afterwards, after the movie was done, I kind of listened to that song quite a few times, because I was like, this is something good. And I miss when movies actually had legitimately good music within it, or like had its own either theme song or soundtrack or something, but it wasn't exactly a musical. That's a whole nother thing in its entirety, because sometimes there's actually really good musical movies that are not to actually just be just kind of the... Anyways, moving on. So, like High School Musical, more like Sweeney Todd. But so anyways, back, of course, where I was to have been. So Roberts is to realize that these guys are just shooting away at his clinic. And this is to almost remind me of the Bruce Willis Die Hard shoot the glass. Schieß der Fenster. Shoot the glass. Kind of scene going on in Die Hard. And so they're shooting up all this glass, and Robert is just trying to scamper away, and the only thing that he can come to find is this very tiny looking scalpel that he's like, well, I guess I can kind of specialize in this to use this as a weapon. And so this one guy comes in without this laser gun, but is to be this legitimate gun. And so Robert goes on and cuts this guy's hand. And so the guy drops the weapon. And so there's this whole kerfuffle about this. And so that leads the guys to get away with Cindy and not really care about Roberts, to where Roberts is like, oh no, like, you ain't getting my Cindy. F all that noise. I'm coming after you. You wanted the animal? You got the animal. So Roberts gets into his car and is following these goons. It's like, oh no, like you've messed with the wrong guy. You've pushed too far. No. Legitimately, that's all that he should be just saying at this whole entire point. It would have been way cooler, but no. Like, you've gone too far. You pushed the wrong guy. Pew pew. So Roberts is going on and shooting this gun off to hopefully try and stop this car so he can get to Cindy. But the guys on the other car are doing the same exact thing to stop Roberts from continuing to get to them. And that leads him to crash into this fountain, which now leads the police to arrive as well as the ambulance. And honestly, right around the time of this film, we don't really know what side the cops are really playing for. Like, are the cops helping Reston? Are they on the take? Like, is really just Masters having a just hard on for Roberts and just wanting to put him away? I don't know. I'm not quite 100% clear within my brain really where the cops are with Roberts, because eventually Roberts is to go on to eventually get away from his car in the fountain and hide out in the woods. And there's to be this one woman. There's to be this one woman who is to say, oh, he's out there in the woods. He'll probably trip and fall and hurt his ankle or his leg. That's what always happens in the woods. Or he'll slip on a big, massive banana peel. Because that's what always happens. When you go in the woods, you trip and fall and you murder yourself. Because that's what that. If you watch a horror film like frickin' The Strangers twice. So Roberts is to get out of the woods and make his way into this cop car, and is to just be. This man is just so skinny that he can just go on and just kind of fit like in between these seats of this car and just be just chilling while these cops are to get back into the car and just drive off. And so Roberts is to go on and realize, like, okay, like, instead of me just going with the police, I can just be in this back of the car with the police talking to them. So much about that, I was like, man, this is kind of dumb. But so we have these police officers that are conveniently making their way to Reston anyways. And so Roberts is going on and talking to the police and kind of telling them what all has played out. And the two guys are like, oh, yeah, sure. Like, we believe you, loony. Yeah, whatever. And so Roberts, the more and more he is to talk to these coppers, he's like, oh, so, like, you two know about the Looker Lab? And the cops are just like, yeah, like, those girls over there, they're pretty good lookers, yeah. We know all about that Looker Lab. It seems like they're churning out quite a few over there. So Roberts is to go on and just be like, yeah, I don't trust you cops. I don't think I can go on and think that you're at all gonna help me with what's going on here. And so Roberts goes on and I think he guns them and takes their clothes from them. And so Roberts makes his way to this reception. So Reston is going on to meet with all of these people to put on this massive commercial showing of sorts to all of these people. And this commercial is going to be a big, massive brainwashing endeavor. So Cindy is with Jennifer Long. And we, of course, have Cindy giving the cliche-ish, like, Batman will come for me. Batman will save me. And Jennifer Long is like, oh, yeah, sure, he'll come. I'm counting on it. If you guys know Batman Forever, you know what I'm talking about. And we also have the, like the sweater. It keeps me safe while I'm jogging at night. So, man, what such a good film. And if I hadn't got on and reviewed it at some point, I would go back and just go over it. Like, there's certain lines in that film that are just good laughs. They're just, you sunk my battleship. But anyways, we've already passed that bridge, sadly enough. But looking onto it, we can always still, like, have a good laugh. But so, Reston is to go on and do this whole speech about, we are to realize that certain people to probably spend 15 years in jail, but then we are also to realize that certain people are to probably spend 15 years of their life watching TV, just glued to the Netflix, the Hulus, and the Flutos, and the DuckDuckGos. Oh, wait! This is a time well before streaming services are actually available, so what the am I saying? A little too ahead of my time. But so, we have Roberts making his way through this environment to eventually be spotted by a girl named Candy. And so Candy is going on and talking to Robert and just being, oh yeah, hey, yeah, I know you. Like, what's with all this goofy getup, huh? And Roberts is like, oh crap, I'm spotted. And so he starts walking off, and Mustache Man is just almost behind him with a gun almost to his back. And Candy, none the wiser, is to just kind of stop this Mustache Man and just like, oh hey, yeah, I'm Candy. Oh, but you had a gun in your hand. Well, yeah, maybe I should just go on and just get the heck out of here. So we have Reston, who is to put on these commercials like as if it's the Super Bowl. And so the first thing that we are to go on and see is this presidential ad where we would have Roberts, who had gone on and stated that this presidential candidate was to go in for plastic surgery because he is to have kind of crow's feet or just kind of sacks under his eyes. It's like, oh no, like, you can't be a president if you have tired eyes. And that was honestly kind of weird when we would have Roberts going on and talking about his patients and how it's like, well, yeah, like this guy has a good set of ribs and this and that. It's like, yeah, you should really check him out, secretary. And I'm like, should he be going on and really going in depth about every surgery he is to have that day because patient confidentiality? But then also, like, talking about how, like, this president is to get his eyes sacks removed. That's just my thought. I don't know, like, how far down the line does it really go with, like, doctors probably shouldn't go on and just like, badmouth people, but then again, who knows? Like, I think at one point I was to probably go on and probably get badmouthed by some person who was to go on and have me come into a hospital at one point, I'm sure. But so, I'm sure it's regular. But anyways, where was I? So this presidential ad is going on, and so we get the warped blue eyes coming over the president, and they're just like, ah, yes, presidential ad. We'll do whatever you say, ad. because we're getting some brainwashing warping going on. So the next thing we end up seeing is this roach ad where all of a sudden we see Cindy and she's in this kitchen, and funny enough we have Roberts who is kind of hiding in this same kitchen. And so all of a sudden we start to find our audience is kind of laughing at Roberts, who is just kind of hiding away here. And like, what the heck is going on here? This seems like some goofy, funny stuff. And so we have Mustache Man who's like, aha, that's where Roberts is. I found him. And he ends up going on to shoot Jennifer Long by accident, who is kind of left her place where she was with Cindy. And when Jennifer Long comes back, Cindy goes on to try and check Jennifer's body. Seems like a weird movie reference within me just needing to say something. Tries to get these keys to uncuff herself. So the next thing we see is this sleep aid ad. And we, of course, again see somebody within this commercial who is kind of forcing us to realize that, like, okay, this is fairly funny. Why is this random guy in here, this mustache man? Because really, the CGI'd characters, we don't actually see them in the places that they should be in. But that's the whole movie magic thing going on here. So Mustache Man is still making his way to try to find where the heck Robert still is after he's gone and killed now Jennifer, but then also a camera, it seems, just kind of pow and just explodes up that camera. So we then have a Dodge car commercial where this bikini looking woman is going on and talking about her Dodge car, just probably feeling up that car. She used to go on and just talk about the horsepower. Horsepower. Yeah, sure, okay, all right. Just rub up against that car and just try to sell it, baby. And we would come to find that Roberts is hiding into the car. It's just like, I hope Mustache Man doesn't notice me. But so, of course, he does. So, uh, so, uh, so Roberts is to peek his head out of the car and shoot Mustache Man with the light gun. And then it's to go on and run up to him and grab his gun away from him and shoot him and kill him. So we then get another commercial going on here, and we have Masters who is to enter this reception area and is to just like, what the heck is going on? Reston finds Jennifer as Cindy is to have uncuffed herself. Reston is to take his own gun as Cindy is to hide away and try to protect herself. So we now have these three men, Roberts, Masters, Reston, and here's where we get this shootout going on. Everybody's blasting away with these guns. We have Roberts firing on Reston, Reston firing on Roberts. Then all of a sudden Masters comes in and he shoots so Masters shoots Reston, killing him, taking him out, breaking this glass, having Reston fall over, and he's now a part of this exercise commercial, and he's now dead. And again, probably everybody in the audience is just laughing and cackling and having a good time. So, and it all has something to do, I think, also with the toothpaste commercial. I thought it was an exercise thing. My bad. So, at the end of all this, finally, because this is an hour and a half film, and I've been talking for an hour and 15 minutes. My apologies. There were some issues and whatever of me going on and trying to figure out what the heck was going on at certain points, or try to get certain things correct. But anyways, at the end of all this, we have Roberts and we have Cindy, and they're kind of walking off into the sunset at the end of this tale. And so we have Cindy, who's possibly thinking about going on and getting another surgery done from the cut that she was to have obtained during this whole cuffed situation, kidnapping ordeal. And so Roberts is telling Cindy, it's like, well, hey, you're not going to get that done by me, because I don't want to have you be a patient anymore. I want you to come and date with me, and so that way I can go on and definitely not have you as a patient, because that's my one rule. And so Cindy's like, oh yeah, all right, okay. So the two of them ride off into the sunset, and I guess we just have to naturally assume that Reston and his company is going to get their comeuppance, and Masters is not going to go on and be looking at a guy like Roberts to pin anything on, besides him probably just kind of running away from a fountained car. But other than that, I think it's about that time to just kind of wrap this movie up anyways. I got to this way later than I would have wanted to, but I guess it's just to have me say that I'm just happy that I could have gotten to this today. At some point, there are a couple of movies that I really am looking at, just like these look really good, and I want to go on and get to them. But I don't know if I really want to go on and just say them now. Sure, let's go on, and because more than likely they might be done, and then they might not be. I don't know. There is another movie called The Video Dead that actually looks pretty interesting. Yeah, it might not be popular. I don't really care. It has a really interesting concept where we would come to find a TV is to eventually unleash these monsters from out of it. And I thought that was like a really cool idea. And it's this kind of old-fashioned TV that is bringing forth these monsters. And I'm like, wow, this just sounds really cool. And like, regardless of how like many views or how really popular that movie is, or how no one has probably ever heard of it in their life, I don't care. It looks really cool. I want to check it out, and I hope I can do that fairly soon, because maybe it might just be a bag of crap movie that I will want to even bother reviewing or checking out. So we'll see how that goes. I'm hoping for another banger. I just really do. Or just wanting to just probably be still disappointed about it, but it's like, man, there's so much potential there. Dog Day Afternoon, an Al Pacino movie, is another film that I want to check out. Because in all actuality, while I was watching this, Dog Day Afternoon was kind of going on in the background. I was like, yeah, like this looks like a pretty decent film. Like I could go on and pretty much enjoy some of the characters, but I didn't want to go on and review Dog Day Afternoon because I was legitimately focusing on this and wanting to see how it all played out. But yeah, hopefully I can go on and watch Dog Day Afternoon and review that at some point, because that looked really interesting, and I've never really full on immersed myself in that film, so that could be something fun. Other than that, yeah, like there's still probably some new releases that I probably need to get out of the way, but really it's not going to be the first Omen, that's for sure. Again, I hope that the first Omen gets donut holes worth of views. If I were to even have bothered to want to go on and try and review that film, oh boy, because yeah, I've probably spoken ad nauseum of my distaste for that, but especially if you watch the Strangers review, but still, but yeah, really also eventually at some point I'm gonna start cranking out possibly some reviews, but who knows. Either way, I'm wanting to hope to just find more content that I can have fun watching. Yeah, there is a lot, and I mean a lot of certain stuff I'd went through and run through, and then realized like, oh, people actually want to see this stuff. People want to actually see more of it, and I'm like, oh yeah, I should probably get to those. I should probably do those. Because yeah, I tend to cover a bunch of just shows and stuff, and then eventually a person or people are to have actually wanted more of that content, and I'm like, yeah, about that though. So yeah, like I don't want to like try and promise things or say that I'm going to do something and then it falls through. But then also, I really, at some point, even like lately, there's always this just kind of thought of just like, man, if I could just start over, I could have planned this way better. Now that I have a little bit of knowledge of this, that, and whatever, and what have you. But then also, if I started all over again, uh, would any of those things do as well the first, second, third time around? Probably not. Like they were probably just lucky circumstances that I had gone on and did as well upon this video or that or whatever. And there's no way that I can go on and reobtain that kind of viewership. But then also, that is probably the more of the reason why I was to go on and also just kind of redo thumbnails. And also, uh, like this thumbnail specifically has just an AI filtered over my body as a picture because I thought that that was just kind of fun. And really, it was kind of funny when I did the AI filter over my picture because it looked nothing like me. Yeah, it might have had like a tank top and the jeans and arms and head, but really, like I even had to go on and edit the photos so it looked more like me. Because like what really turned out is some like Chris Hemsworth meets Frankie Muniz looking guy, and I was like, okay, like it looks weird. So I'm definitely gonna go on and get out of here because I know that I've talked for far too long. But hey, at the end of the day, go on and check out the Looker if you already have gone on and done so. Then after hearing whatever I was to say, that at the end of the day, thank you regardless. So goodbye, everybody. Goodbye, everybody.